Sagittarius, hi. This will be a reading for the zodiac sign Sagittarius. It applies to sun, moon, and rising. Let's go ahead and get started. Death. Let's see. Some kind of revelation that brings pain. Perhaps you're trying to change certain aspects about yourself. You know, I feel like if you're blocking people off or sort of defending a position that doesn't really need to be defended, for one, it comes from insecurity. And two, I think that there's a level of confusion here. I think it becomes clear because there is celebration ahead as well as the Emperor. So this may be a period of refining yourself, of learning discipline, learning control. You know, something about the Emperor, he is also militant and humble. He has full control over his resources, his mind, his body, and his spirit. And he sits with a barren landscape on a stone throne. He is the father of the deck. He brings about structure, discipline. Unlike the Empress, which is the mother and is more about creativity and abundance and birth. And he sort of strips away everything and brings refinement, a concentrated focus. I feel like you're confused about a few different things. You seem to maybe have some conflict in the outside influence. There's going to be a sudden change in the outcome. But it's not in a disruptive or problematic way because it's with the King of Wands, or perhaps you're sort of watching a lot of things crumble. Yeah, we have judgment in the things unseen. So there seems to be a level of finality about this, especially with death. You know, it's kind of like saying, burn it all down, watch it burn, you know, because with the crumbling of that tower comes the rebuilding of the new. Where there is death, there is also life. You may have a certain knowing or level of wish fulfillment happening right now. You're very focused on collaborations. And wow, you have the Wheel of Fortune ahead of you. So I feel like things sort of, you know, if you're at sort of a halt or there's sort of this moment happening, it looks like things pick up a great deal in the near future. And you're sort of, I think, taking on even a competitive nature to claim a level of justice. You're also finding balance in your relationships and probably trying to, one, either element in your spiritual and philosophical concepts, but also I think this talks about commitment. You know, the Hierophant, it can often talk about institutions such as marriage. Maybe this is a devotion to a path of initiation or perhaps a person. You have a lot happening in the outside influence as well. I feel like you let go of these sort of petty exchanges for the sake of stability, for balance. But I don't know, there's some hesitation or lack of faith in the situation that I can't quite place. Let's see what that is. The Emperor. What is it? What is causing the hesitation or doubt? You may receive a lot of attention in some ways, Sagittarius. Your negative perspective really only comes from some sort of lack of clarity you have about the situation, though. I feel like something is going to break away. And you may not be very happy about that, by the way. It may be difficult. In some level, I think that you see it as for the best, even though maybe you don't want to accept that. Where's my coffee? Oh. But again, I want to reiterate, there seems to be some sort of unforeseen good circumstances that come after this, or it pushes you to develop in a certain kind of way, or maybe really focus in on certain parts of your life that perhaps you've been ignoring or putting off. We have a lot of movement, a lot of communication, a lot of growth in the things unseen. Ace of Cups, a new beginning. Perhaps you understand your potential, and meanwhile you sort of sit idly by, letting these opportunities slip through your fingers. Why is that? There will be some communication or revelation that likely brings pain. That's very clear. Maybe you're delivering it, maybe you're receiving it. I also kind of get the impression of maybe taking things for granted a little bit. In the things unseen, maybe something I would look at. This card talks about someone who has the world in their hands, right? But they're sort of too jaded to see it. Maybe you've accomplished a lot and you feel that there's no more to explore and no more to achieve, which is absolutely not true, by the way. Or you find yourself discontent in comfort, so you maybe have a tendency to unknowingly self-sabotage and cause problems. Two of Cups. What can Sagittarius look forward to in this situation? What can we expect? Justice prevails. You may resort back to some of your old confusion in some ways, but not to the point where it's debilitating. I think that you're taking consistent action. It's in the nature of Sagittarius to be sort of flighty, right? To kind of go this way and then kind of go this way. Very adventurous, very spontaneous. And that's a great quality, and it's a very charming quality. However, it can get in the way sometimes when you have a good thing in front of you. You start thinking, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? When, maybe there's nothing wrong with where you're at. And maybe when you can come to understand that, there's inspiration, creativity, wish fulfillment, passion. But there are the untamed beast in the things unseen, your lesser nature, your animalistic side. I feel like that is what needs a bit of refinement in some ways. You're not entirely clear right now in some ways, but I feel like you're confident. You're sort of waiting for the next indicated steps, right? Ahead of you, we have the King of Pentacles and the Ace of Wands. Perhaps coming to understand some of these things about being content where you are and continuing to work towards, your bigger goals, but not with a sense of urgency necessarily. And also making choices in different options, particularly if there is conflict or competition. This is sort of talking about also being recognized, maybe by a lot of people, but also not being necessarily showboaty or, giving that much attention. I kind of get the impression that humility is needed in some ways. 3 cards of advice here. We have Ace of Cups. Clarify Ace of Cups. If you end certain things, new things begin. Wait in faith. Maybe everything hasn't come together yet, but there is a knowing. Keep the goal or the direction or the manifestation or whatever it is active in the subconscious mind. Keep moving that way without expectation, without doubt, without fear. You will achieve it. And to let your guard down when it comes to people, to socializing even. I'm not sure what that, clarify. Yeah, you know, maybe there's not really a need to be so guarded. Maybe there's not a position of advantage to defend all the time. Maybe you don't need to control everything. I'm just kidding. Cut ties with anything or anyone that sort of confuses you. When all else fails, stick to integrity. Whatever your gut notion of what is right, stick to that. You find yourself at the King of Pentacles. This is a very stable, nurturing, even family-oriented energy possibly. And in the things unseen, we have death. What is that death? The death of pessimism, the death of your own lack of clarity, of being oblivious, of putting off, you know, what binds you basically. You know, we have temperance, which leads to, you know, sort of an emotional restructuring. And you may have some ways to go for your goals. And that devil, that addiction, that vice, that codependency, that whatever it is always there lurking. But it is your responsibility to actively combat that and make sure you move in the right direction where you're being spiritually or philosophically guided. You know, again, I feel like principle, I feel like integrity is needed. But also, you know, understanding what you want and need for yourself, what works and what doesn't work, and whatever it is that seems to cause problems in your life or confusion, as soon as you drop that burden, I mean, you get to the 10 of Cups, this is a very happily ever after kind of scenario. But it comes with dropping your guard. It comes with, in a sense, letting go, vulnerability, opening up, being open-minded to people and ideas outside of just what you think. And that may be hard to even hear in some ways, but, you know, we all do that. Not just, you know, it's not just a Sagittarius thing, it's just a human thing. And we have to be conscious of that all the time. Death. There is a change. There's a change a-coming. And I think in a sense, you know, as you sort of leave behind these old commitments, relationships, ideas, whatever it is, there's a new version of yourself being born. So Sagittarius, thank you for joining us. I'm going to take this further on my Patreon. So if you want to see the full extended version of this reading, that will be on my Patreon, which is the first link below. If you enjoyed this reading, please do like and subscribe. Share, comment, all that stuff. That helps the channel like a lot. I am taking personal readings. My website is also below. And I'll see you next time, Sagittarius.